Warning, this podcast contains violence, sexuality, gore, and other horrible and disturbing things. Listener discretion is advised. Also, the hosts of this venture are ignorant dipshits, so please do not take anything they say as fact. And enjoy the show.
Now, are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then we'll begin.
Today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be.
The atoms in your left hand probably came from a different star than your right hand.
It is our basic human right to be forgotten.
A second plane now has crashed into the other tower of the World Trade Center.
Putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
The defendant shall be incarcerated for the rest of her natural life with no possibility of parole.
You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men.
We were somewhere around Barstow, on the edge of the desert, when the drugs began to take hold.
Occultae Veritatis. Hello and welcome back to Occultae Veritatis podcast. I am Sage Murray.
Leon Filger.
Ood Gallifrey.
And joining us in studio,
Richard Bigley.
And one of my bestest ever friends,
Susan O'Flanagan.
Yes. All right, so...
It's the best fucking name ever.
It pays homage to my Irish roots.
Oh yes,
I am.
Do you have Irish roots?
No,
I didn't think so. I don't think she does.
Is that appropriation?
Yeah.
Yes, it's fine.
I'm part Irish. I'm
part Irish too.
Yes, I elect you and O'Flanagan.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to be doing the murder of Dee Dee Blanchard. So we're going to need some serious poison.
So, what's your poison?
So here we go. Somebody else that's not me needs to open this.
That looks like a complicated
Can I open it? I'll open it. Send it over.
Where's that gnome?
Where's that gnome?
Alrighty, so we have a jam-packed what's your poison? We not only have a beer sent in by somebody, but Richard Bigley is going to show us some weed.
Okay, we got a note with this beer.
There was a pull tab that I fucked up.
Oh, god damn it.
Complicated.
Read the note. Read the note.
Okay, I'm reading the note. It says, "Greetings, Ood, Sage, and Leon."
I'm Leon.
I'm Sage.
I'm Ood.
I've heard you say on several occasions that you are not particularly fond of American beer. We're not. This one is from my local brewery and is one of my all-time favorites. I hope that you enjoy it as much as I do. Keep up the great work with your amazing podcast. Love, Philip Johnson. He didn't actually put love, but I put that in there.
Yeah, you feel it.
I love you too, Philip.
I love you too,
Thanks,
Philip.
Philip.
So here we go.
Oh my lord, I'm not taking any more than that. That's black like sewage.
Okay, it's called Old Hickory Brewery, Lindley Park, Bourbon Barrel Aged Imperial Stout. You'll hate it.
You're gonna die. You're gonna die,
It looks
man.
delicious though.
It smells
Stout.
like melted ice cream.
You smell like melted ice cream. Stout
That
brewed
might
with
explain
honey.
why you're sticky.
It smells kind of like beef jerky seasoning. Like you would cook beef jerky in this.
Oh,
I mean, one of our first beers was one that tasted like there was a hot rod in it. So maybe full
I liked
circle
that
now.
beer. The stout brewed with honey, raspberries added. Cool. Okay.
Where is it from?
Hickory, North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yeah.
Oh, nothing could be finer.
And it's aged in bourbon barrels.
Okay, that's fun.
I like that.
I'll read you the
It looks
label.
like soy sauce.
You look like soy sauce. Lindley Park is a deep and decadent imperial stout. The base for Lindley Park is made with roasted chocolate malts and local honey, creating a dark, rich, and velvety stout. The stout is then transferred to oak bourbon barrels to mature for up to 10 months. Raspberries are added to the barrels to make the beer even more luscious, with a sweet and mildly tart flavor.
Is that
Lindley
what
Park is a
raspberries
liquid
do?
dessert. Cool, and it's 10%.
Oh, that's a pretty hearty beer then, eh?
Oh, that's dark. Yeah, it smells really good.
Yeah, I think this is a real. Oh yeah, this is a real stick to your ribs beer.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen my flamethrower?
That's got some viscosity to it. It's
Yeah.
it's a little thick.
Looks like engine oil.
Yeah. It's almost climbing the walls of the glass.
Oh, it's good.
Have you seen that
I'm really
Spider-Man with,
getting
with
Holy
venom
crap.
in it and that like that black sludge? Yeah, it looks kind of like.
Are you sure you don't want any?
Yes, I already had some. I poured it in
You
your
know,
glass.
know you did.
I was prepared to fucking hate it. This is pretty good.
There's still a little bit left. Oh, it's good.
It's
Ew,
very
Leon
as
germs.
described. I whoever wrote this bottle monologue really did justice to this drink.
Man, this is a complicated beer.
It is a complicated beer.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can taste the chocolate and the raspberries for sure.
No, you can't.
I can.
Leon has this really sad look on his face.
It's a mix of sad and sour.
It's okay. I don't enjoy cheese.
What?
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
I don't enjoy cheese.
So I think I know our
What
next.
kind of a
What's
white
Your
person
Poison?
are you?
I don't know.
I love cheese so much I would eat it out of a poopy asshole.
Oh, God.
So is mayo spicy for you too then? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mayo's a little bit
Okay.
too spicy.
A little too spicy.
I've tried to get into spicy
What do you
things.
think of yogurt?
I don't know. Maybe just vanilla.
Wow. You hate Do you hate dairy?
No,
Are
I
you
hate-
lactose intolerant?
No, I like peach, and I like chocolate. Yeah.
Chocolate. Chocolate yogurt.
But what
Chocolate
about
milk.
pizza? Cheese on pizza.
Oh, I should say, I guess I don't see the big deal about cheese. I'll gladly eat it.
One time when
deal with cheese?
I had once started on a new antipsychotic medication, and one of the symptoms listed on the bottle was sleepwalking, which I'd never done before. And I had just sort of recently kind of pseudo moved in with Mrs. Leon Filger, like I had more than a toothbrush at her place. And I got up in the middle of the night, and we had gone to the bulk cheese warehouse earlier in the day and bought 9 different cheeses and a block of fudge.
Oh, goody.
And in the middle of the night, I somehow, because she didn't do it, got up, unwrapped each piece of cheese, took a bite out of each one, wrapped it up again, unwrapped the fudge, took a bite out of the fudge, wrapped it up again, and went back to bed. And in the morning, she's like, "Did you take a fucking bite out of every piece of cheese in the fudge?" And I'm like, "No." And she's like, "No." And I didn't believe her, so we actually matched up a piece of cheese to my teeth. And the dental records...
But that's only
is not
pseudoscience.
Yeah,
That's pseudoscience, though.
That's not a complete science, which we've learned.
She and I have very different teeth.
Okay.
It was definitely me. And I'm sure I loved it because fucking cheese is delicious.
And your potato doesn't have teeth yet, so it can't be them.
No, it's not him.
Yeah.
He's got sharp gums, though.
Yeah.
Sharp gums.
You try being the one whose boob they're on.
Just him chomping on my fingers hard enough. I can't imagine having a nip in there.
You know, when he's teething, you can put some of this on his gums, and it might help.
He'll throw up on me. 'Cause he throws
Says
up
the
enough.
pharmacist.
That's what my grandpa used to do. Just stick his finger in whiskey and just rub it on my gums. Yeah.
Like, I feel like maybe is that actually, like, I don't think Mrs. Leon Filger would approve, but is that actually a smart thing to do?
No.
No, don't do that.
Really? We don't do that?
No.
No.
And don't use Oragel.
No?
No, Oragel's like shunned now.
One time I had rough sex and tore my frenulum and I put oral gel on it because I didn't have anything else.
Oh, you tore your frenulum? I don't have a frenulum and that hurts my frenulum.
No, you have a frenulum underneath your top lip.
Oh, gross.
Oh, is that the thin, skinny part?
Yeah.
Oh,
Is that like bit in the vein that connects the head of your penis to your foreskin?
Okay.
And I got it nicked.
How?
It happens.
A tooth nicked it, and I smothered Oragel on it, and it fixed it.
Oh my!
Because you can't put a Band-Aid on your penis. It doesn't work.
No.
But just like gobbed on some Oragel, and problem was solved.
Don't use it on your baby.
But it works so well if you cut your frenulum.
Okay, but no.
Mad props to the people of Hickory, North Carolina for producing this beer.
Yes, and mad props.
While they've been talking, I've been sipping it, and with every sip, I like it more and more.
I'm kind of getting a reverse of that.
Like, it just, I don't know. I find that it grows on me, and like when I took my first sip, I was kind of like 3 out of 10, but now it's moving up to like a 7. Because that, I guess that sweetness just kind of starts coming out the more you drink it.
It's good. And thank you to Philip.
I'm smoking CBD to get the taste of this fucking beer out of my mouth.
Oh, give me some CBD.
I'm up for that. My opinion really isn't changing. I think I started at like a 7 out of 10, and I think I'm going to stay there. I don't know. I don't think it's something I drink every day, but it's pretty good.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can we give half marks?
Oh, yeah.
You can give Rovers as marks.
Yeah, Leon uses whatever units he wants, so I don't see why the rest of us can.
I'm going to give it one bleeding frenulum.
Oh, stop saying that.
Out of
That could be the name of your next ska band.
Here's your next out of a penile meatus. Do you know what a penile meatus is?
No.
It's the hole in the end where the pee comes out of.
Oh, fine.
It's where the urethra meets the surface.
Actually, a friend of mine is seeing the band Necrophilic. Oh, what is it?
Necrophilic Carnage?
No, a Necrophilic Cunnilingus, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a metal band that's in Saskatoon tonight.
So is that where a dead body performs cunnilingus on you, or you cunnilingal?
The latter.
I guess it could.
Boring.
Okay, and number 2, I guess we've all given our rating. Richard Bigley.
I haven't.
Oh, sorry.
I don't think anyone has, except for no one.
I did. He gave one.
He said something about a bleeding frenulum.
Yeah. Okay.
That's like a punk band I would want to start.
Bleeding Frenulum. Yeah,
Bleeding
that's the name of like a dirty punk band.
Yeah.
Like a G.G. Allen style punk band. Okay, well, I'm gonna give this beer like a 7 out of 10. It's really good. It definitely changes my perspective on American beers. They're not all shitty and like pee.
Yeah.
So thank you, Philip Johnson.
And believe us, when we go to the liquor store, our selection is definitely limited. So, yeah, if you want to impress us with your local beers, feel free to mail them in if you can afford it. We're lucky enough you guys let us into your ear holes every week, so we're thankful.
I'm going to give this a 6.5, I think, out of 12.
Oh, okay. Switching it up.
Oh, yeah.
Home movies capture the vibrant spirit of a young teenage girl.
So where are you going today? I'm going to Children's Mercy Hospital to see my dentist for my teeth.
Full of enthusiasm and effervescence, but behind the smiles, life for Gypsy Blanchard and her mother Dee Dee is one replete with hardships and challenges. Gypsy is in a wheelchair.
They were local darlings. I mean, they were the shining star in this town of people who can outlast adversity and get through everything.
The mother-daughter duo are local celebrities, the subject of countless local news profiles and articles.
Gypsy and her multiple illnesses and diseases, leukemia, muscular dystrophy. She had learning disabilities, had not been able to be out of a wheelchair since she was 5 years old. And so the community really embraced them.
Dee Dee's originally from Louisiana, a one-time beauty queen.
Military queen, Miss Claudina P.
And nurse's aide. She marries Rod Blanchard at age 24. Together, the couple welcomes a beautiful baby girl.
Perfectly healthy, pretty little baby. Named her Gypsy Rose. I was excited and very scared. I'm not gonna lie, I was scared. I'm 18 years old and I got a baby here, so.
But she was beautiful and perfectly healthy.
Yeah, she was. Nothing wrong with her. She looked perfect.
I'm sure that you've heard of Dee Dee Blanchard. She was
I'm pretty
killed.
fucking high now. That was some strong weed.
Well, get on high because you got to drive me home.
I'm fully focused.
Good. I'm full of CBD, so I'm all loosey-goosey.
Well, the CBD will actually help you, I guess, reduce the effect that THC would have on you.
So I should be smoking more CBD is what you're saying?
Yes, smoke more.
Yeah, it's, I guess.
Thanks, pharmacist.
I think
I
we're
just sell drugs out of my car. I keep telling you this.
I don't believe it. All right. So Dee Dee Blanchard was her name at birth was Claudine Petra, but she went by Dee Dee.
Claudine Petra.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was born in 1967. She grew up near Golden Meadow, Louisiana.
So highly conservative.
Yeah.
On the
She had She had a little bit of a checkered past during her childhood. She would engage in some petty theft. At some point in her adult life, she worked as a nurse's aide. Like, she's kind of just like a whatever curly-haired woman. So when Dee Dee was 24, she got pregnant by a man named Rob Blanchard, who was 17. So she got with a younger man, which could be considered statutory rape.
How old was she at the time?
She was 24, and her baby daddy was 17.
It's American South, though. I feel like they're
kind of whatever.
Yeah.
They named their daughter Gypsy Rose. Because Claudine, Dee Dee, liked the name Gypsy, and Rod was a big fan of Guns N' Roses. Yeehaw!
Oh boy.
You're off to a good start in life.
Yeah.
This is definitely feeling like Louisiana so far.
So shortly before Gypsy Rose's birth, she was born in July of 1991. The couple separated. He said that they got married for the wrong reasons. Dee Dee kept trying to get him to come back, but he never did.
I'm guessing the wrong reasons is like...
Because they got pregnant?
Kind of shotgun wedding kind of thing?
Yeah. When Gypsy Rose was born, she might have been slightly premature. This possibly could have affected the development of her skull, but other than that, she had no known health issues when she was born.
Okay.
According to Rod, like the dad, who remained involved with his daughter at this point, at the time, Gypsy was 3 months old. Her mother, so Dee Dee, was convinced the baby suffered from sleep apnea and began taking her to the hospital. So this kind of started that whole...
Very early.
Yeah, 3 months old. Sleep apnea. I'm not sure if that happens to babies. I don't know. It seems ridiculous to me.
I think they die when they have it.
Yeah,
SIDS.
I think that's SIDS.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So they kept having overnight stays with a sleep monitor and other tests, but they found no sign of any condition. But Claudine was convinced that Gypsy had a wide range of health issues. When Gypsy was 7 or 8, she was riding her grandfather's motorcycle when he had a minor accident, which is crazy. So I guess this is the South. 7 or 8-year-olds can ride motorcycles.
Oh yeah, like I think a lot of the South, like a lot of the American Midwest, is a lot like Saskatchewan. Like I grew up in a small town, and like as soon as I could see over the steering wheel while I was driving trucks and stuff for my dad.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild to me. So anyway, when she was like 7 or 8, she was riding on this motorcycle, and they got into a little bit of an accident. She just basically scraped her knee. But her mother said that these injuries were wild, and they would require several surgeries to correct.
Jesus.
And from then on, Gypsy was confined to a wheelchair.
And to be clear, like you just said, her wounds were superficial. Like
yeah, they were it's like road rash. Okay. So she was confined to a wheelchair despite signs that she was fine, like she could walk by herself and everything.
Mm-hmm.
She often went to Special Olympics events. In 2001, when Dee Dee claimed she was 8, she was named the honorary queen of the crew of Mid-City Parade, a child-oriented parade which was held during Mardi Gras. So she kind of stopped going to school after 2nd grade, possibly even as early as kindergarten. Her mother homeschooled her after that because of her, in quotation mark, air quotes, severe illnesses.
Yeah. And I think the reason that you keep on like restating like she could have went to home in kindergarten or in 2nd grade is because like Dee Dee was a pathological liar.
Yeah, she was wild. She's
like you said, claimed she was 8 years old. Was she like not 8?
She put her age down way younger.
Yeah,
a lot of the time when she was talking about her daughter.
Like she believed that if she told her daughter she was younger than she was, that she would be able to have more control over her.
Yeah,
if she believed she was younger.
Like this whole thing is super fucked up.
Oh yeah,
that's messed.
By the way, Leon, I'm really interested in your take on this as a bioethicist because this gets fucked real quick.
I'm excited.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Gypsy did manage to learn to read on her own by reading Harry Potter.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm a what?
A wizard, and a thumping good one, I'd wager.
Oh, there you go.
So yay, Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So Gypsy's father ended up being remarried, but Dee Dee never did, and moved in with her father and her stepmother, who would later claim that Dee Dee, when preparing food to her, poisoned it with Roundup weed killer.
Jesus.
So she was allegedly actively poisoning her daughter, leading to her own chronic illness during this period. During that time, she was arrested for several minor offenses, like writing bad checks. So she just kind of was a little bit sketchy. This is Dee Dee.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like a shitty person.
Yeah, just like a bad
low-key shitty so far.
So when her family began to confront her about her treatment of Gypsy and express suspicion of her role in her stepmother's health, she left with Gypsy. She just left.
Jesus.
And her stepmother's health resumed shortly after she left. So she was poisoning her stepmother.
Eating Roundup every day, you'll probably feel a hell of a lot better.
Right?
Jesus.
So Dee Dee and Gypsy lived in public housing when they moved out. They were on public assistance, so they paid for all their bills and everything on there. So she had childcare payments, and she was like the public assistance that she got was because of her claims, Gypsy's health issues, supposed medical conditions.
Oh, man.
They went to tons and tons of hospitals. They spent lots of times in the hospitals seeking treatment for all these illnesses that Dee Dee claimed that Gypsy had, which now included hearing and vision problems. They did a muscular biopsy and found no sign of the muscular dystrophy that Dee Dee claimed that Gypsy had.
Because it would alter the shape and function of her muscle cells.
Oh, totally.
But she was successful in securing treatment for her daughter's other purported issues. She told doctors that Gypsy had a bunch of seizures, and they gave her anti-seizure medication. They performed a ton of surgeries, and Dee Dee took Gypsy into the emergency room all the time.
Man, it's complicated. So a patient comes in with her daughter and says that her daughter is having seizures.
Yeah.
Like, even if you hold her daughter for observation and don't observe one, would you send her away without treatment?
Right. You'd give them at least like something.
Would you?
I don't know.
Yeah, there's some
I don't know that
interesting
you would.
ethics there. Yeah, I don't know that you would either. I think there's some onus on some of these doctors too.
Yeah. No,
For not looking into anything. Because like she's fine.
Yeah, no, you have no obligation to look into something if someone's fine.
Yeah.
Treating them for something that you hadn't diagnosed, that would be problematic.
That's what all these doctors did. They gave her like anti-seizure meds and gave her a wheelchair and
bad.
Yeah.
Was the mother like really charismatic? Like one of these really charismatic liars? Or
I think she must have been. She must have been just like a talker to be able to get away with this for so long.
Or you know, sometimes you attribute to malice but can be chalked up for stupidity. Maybe the doctors just wanted to shut her up.
Maybe. And it was like, whatever.
Well, it's pretty twisted to think that
to shut her up.
Lying about it too.
Yeah.
So eventually they moved to Missouri.
And I believe that was after Hurricane Katrina.
The Hurricane Katrina in 2005 like completely devastated where they were living.
In some ways, New Orleans is still rebuilding a decade after Katrina, which left in its wake massive job and population losses for the city. Today, some 90,000 fewer people live in New Orleans, and in the first 10 months after the storm, 95,000 jobs were lost, along with some $2.9 billion in wages, mainly from the private sector. The city also had a job vacancy rate of 12.5%, one of the highest ever recorded in the U.S., according to analysts. During those months, more than 22,000 jobs were lost in tourism and food services, 3,500 jobs lost in port services, and nearly 14,000 jobs lost in healthcare. Meanwhile, construction thrived in the recovery, adding nearly 5,000 jobs.
I'm going to be doing an episode on disaster capitalism in the wake of Hurricane Katrina.
Okay, cool. This is definitely it because they ended up having to leave the apartment that they rented.
Yeah.
And they went to a shelter. Both Dee Dee and Gypsy's medical records, including her birth certificate, were destroyed by the flooding.
Oh, fuck.
Sure they were.
Yeah. So then they were eventually like airlifted to Missouri. So they lived in a rented home in Aurora, Missouri, in the southwestern area of the state. Gypsy was actually honored by a foundation called the Oli Foundation, which advocates for the rights of feeding tube recipients, as its 2007 Child of the Year.
She had a feeding tube?
No, but she was part of like that whole thing because she was so sick.
Aww. Yeah, it was the Terry Schiavo department, which I'm also doing an episode on.
Yeah, I do Terry Schiavo. In 2008, Habitat for Humanity built them a house with a wheelchair ramp and a hot tub. So they actually scammed a house out of kind and giving people.
Wow. Oh, yeah. And throughout this episode, I'm going to be, especially through this part, I'm going to put the little news clips. And
yeah, there's lots.
They signed up for, like, organizations that want to give to people in need or people that are struggling. And they signed up for a lot of them. Or, sorry, Dee Dee. I shouldn't attribute it to
Yeah,
Gypsy.
It's not Gypsy. It's all Dee Dee.
Yeah.
This story of a single mother and her severely disabled daughter who had to flee from Hurricane Katrina into their community. It got like a shitload of media coverage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that really tugs at the heartstrings.
Exactly. Yep. So obviously like an outpouring of support included a great deal of charitable contributions. They did the Ronald McDonald House. They received free flights to see doctors. They got free trips to Walt Disney World. They, like I said, they had that house built for them. Her dad also continued to make child support payments, so they were pretty flush with money at this point, and trips and a free house.
What did she think about it all, being sick?
Oh, I'm getting into that. She basically didn't know until she was a little bit older. Dee Dee actually used physical abuse to control her daughter, always holding her daughter's hand when she was in the presence of others.
If she held her hand, she could have a couple fingers on the wrist, and if she wanted to correct, she would just need to squeeze the wrist a little bit.
Yeah, because any time that Gypsy would like, yeah, right? It's like the arm squeeze. Anytime that Gypsy would maybe said something that suggested that she wasn't actually sick or seemed above her purported mental capabilities, because Dee Dee basically said that she was stupid as well. Her mother would give her a very tight squeeze. So her mother would be like, zip, zip, be quiet.
Yeah, you couldn't have her appearing like she could read or anything like that.
And when the two were alone, Dee Dee would strike her with open hands or a coat hanger. Jesus. So medical interventions continued. Dee Dee had, gross. Dee Dee had some of Gypsy's saliva glands treated with Botox.
Oh no.
And then she had them extracted altogether to control her drooling. Which Gypsy had later claimed that had been induced by using a topical anesthetic to numb her gums before doctor visits.
So it was just all numb, like at the dentist. You can't even tell you're drooling.
Yeah.
So she has chronic dry mouth now because they took away the glands that she would probably need.
Yeah, because her mom injected things to freeze her whole fucking mouth so that she would drool all the time.
Jesus.
And they even had tubes implanted in her ears because they said that she had a bunch of ear infections. So,
and my brother had ear tubes all through his childhood, and they get painful, and like they irritate the ear canal all the time, and he was always in a bit of pain.
Yeah. So a man named Bernardo Flowerstein, who was a pediatric neurologist who saw Gypsy, became suspicious of her muscular dystrophy diagnosis. So he ordered some MRIs and some blood tests and found, surprise, surprise, no abnormalities. This is in quotes. "I don't see any reason why she doesn't walk," he told Dee Dee on a follow-up visit after seeing Gypsy stand and support her own weight.
And you can easily read muscle activity with different stuff they have in the hospital.
Well, exactly. They double-checked. Like, he called Gypsy's doctors back in New Orleans and learned that her original muscle biopsy had come back negative.
So did they lie? They lied about the medical records being destroyed because they'd have to look up medical records to check that.
Yeah, they must have. Like, it's insane.
It was just a convenient excuse.
This man, Bernardo Flowerstein, he suspected the possibility of Munchausen's by proxy.
Munchausen's by proxy syndrome, MBP.
That's what killed Marion.
It's a mental illness in adults. Munchausen's is when you hurt yourself to get attention. You make yourself sick, everyone's at your beck and call. Munchausen's by proxy, on the other hand, is when you make someone else sick so you can care for them, so you can save them. Or try. Be seen trying.
You're saying Dora has this?
I'm saying people have this. Mostly mothers. Mothers who need to be worshipped, to be heroes. Nothing more laudable than a woman who puts all her energy into her sick child.
So eventually Dee Dee did, stop taking Gypsy to go see this guy because he was calling her out on her bullshit.
But did he, contact the police?
Yes.
Oh, good.
No, he did not. He did not follow up.
Oh,
Sorry.
shit.
Dr. Flowerstein.
I know. Flowerstein did not follow up by reporting Dee Dee to social services.
Oh.
He said he had been told by other doctors to treat the pair with golden gloves and doubted the authorities would believe them anyway. So in 2009, an anonymous caller told the police about Dee Dee's use of different names and birth dates for herself and her daughter, and suggested that Gypsy was in better health than anyone knew, than that Dee Dee had claimed. So officers accepted, they did a wellness check, and they just were like, yeah, sure. They accepted Dee Dee's explanation that she used the misinformation to make it harder for her abusive ex-husband to find her and Gypsy.
Oh, right.
And
without checking the story out with Rod, who is the dad, and reported that Gypsy seemed to be genuinely mentally handicapped because she had been really well trained by her mother.
Well, you'd be so warped by that age too, no interaction with anybody else outside of your mother,
who would inject your gums to make you drool.
Well, she has no problem smacking her in private with her hand or a clothes hanger, and she knew if she didn't play along, she would get it later.
Yeah, you wouldn't even know that was abnormal.
No,
it seems bizarre, but honestly, I've seen how many accounts of less than this, but the same order of people. Faking injuries or getting their kids to fake injuries or conditions. I've seen a lot of it where it's I know that person is okay or they're not nearly as bad as they are, but I can't prove it because, they just won't stop limping.
While those close to Gypsy still believed she was a teenager,
You know what? I had it on airplane mode, but you know what doesn't? You know what's not on airplane mode?
Your alarm?
Your alarm?
Yeah.
Is it like your? I used to have an anti-baby. I called it anti-baby pill alarm. 'Cause when I used to take just like oral birth control before I got an IUD, it was my anti-baby pill.
How's that IUD working out for
Oh
you?
God, I love IUDs.
Because
I don't have a period anymore.
Mrs. Leon Filger got hers popped in yesterday.
Good, she'll love it. Like once your body kind of gets used to it. Did she get Mirena or like a copper one? Yeah, I have a Mirena one.
Is there initial irritation? That seems like it would.
There had to have been. That thing.
Well,
looks
it
scary.
feels it feels yucky to get it in. Like it's like a pinchy pap test.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like, and then you get like, I had a little bit of cramps after, like while your uterus is like, what the fuck is this inside me?
Yeah.
But then once it gets used to it, it's fine.
Hmm.
And your period goes away and it's the best.
You know-
Although her period probably still isn't even back yet because she's breastfeeding.
No, it's not.
Yeah. I didn't have a period for like 2 years. It was the best. And then I had it for like a moment and then it went away again.
Nice.
Imagine in the future when we match the genome, you can just get an injection that'll say, okay, let's just take the uterus out of the blueprint.
Yeah. Like I don't want to be pregnant from this point to this point. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
But yes, I love my IUD. I want to get like little IUD earrings. Yeah. Because that's how much I love my IUD.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Anyway. Well, those close to Gypsy still believed that she was a teenager. By like the 2010s, she was actually an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And began to test the limitation of her mother's scheme. So she kind of starting to like click into the games that her mom is playing.
Well, she would see the seasons change, and you can't fool that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
didn't I turn 16 last year?
Right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So a neighbor recalls an incident either in 2009 or 2010 where Gypsy showed up at her door one night without her wheelchair, seeking a ride to a local hospital to visit a man with whom she shared a romantic interest.
Oh.
I'm reading this straight from the paper.
Scandalous.
The man had been assaulted by a group of people familiar with Gypsy's medical history who felt that he was taking advantage of a mentally challenged underage girl, which she wasn't.
Yeah, but I mean, did he know that?
I think he did.
Okay.
At the hospital, Gypsy produced a birth certificate that gave her correct date of age, proving that she was of legal age. Dee Dee went to the hospital, where she said that birth certificate was an incorrect version issued after Katrina, apparently proving it with the real birth certificate, giving a more recent birth date. So reportedly, Gypsy was made to apologize to everyone. Like, she was scolded like a child.
That's some pretty decent bullshit.
Yeah, really decent bullshit. Like, really hardcore, well thought out bullshit.
Wow, she had like no way out.
And like,
yep.
With all the government's assistance programs they were on, and like,
and all the money that they were getting from...
She had to have all her ducks in a row. Like, she's organized.
Yeah, that's some organized shit right there.
Yeah.
That's...
That makes it even scarier.
Yeah. She put a lot of work into it.
Mind you, when your only fucking job is
that's your
scamming Ronald
career.
McDonald House, like that's...
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are fortune tellers so good? It's because that's what they do for a fucking living. If they were shitty fortune tellers, no one would pay them.
Yeah. Unfortunately, even if you make a living scamming, usually you still end up having about full-time hours, you know?
So Gypsy was like super into like sci-fi and fantasy conventions.
Yeah.
Where she would go like in costume to kind of blend in,
Oh.
even in her wheelchair. At an event in 2011, I'm reading this from the paper, she made what may have been another escape attempt that ended in when her mother found her in a hotel room with a man she had met online. So she's kind of trying to like push
the boundaries. To get out.
Yeah, like I think she knows that she's okay, and she's also knows that she wants to like get a partner, but she doesn't have
any skills.
Yeah, and then her mom keeps busting her and being like, no.
And, like, her will, like, I remember a point in a documentary I watched where they opened up the cabinet with all her pills.
Yeah.
And, like, where most people have a pantry of, like, full of preserves and all that, it was just all medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And,
It's
like,
all of her issues that she probably didn't have.
Sounds like my medicine cabinet.
Well, you actually have those issues, though. Love you.
But despite being in that haze, she's still fighting. Like, she's still trying to, like, make escape attempts.
And try to, like, meet people and break out of this bubble that her mother has trapped her in.
Christ.
Dee Dee caught them, showed them the fake birth certificate that said that she was way younger, and then smashed her computer with a hammer and threatened to do the same with her fingers if she ever tried to escape again.
Jesus.
She also kept Gypsy leashed and handcuffed to her bed for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And she later told Gypsy that she had filed paperwork with the police saying that Gypsy was mentally incompetent. So that kind of made Gypsy believe that if she ever tried to go to the police for help, that they'd be like, nope, you're not. Sorry. You're mentally incompetent. Your mom came and filed this paperwork.
This girl's grown up in that. She doesn't know anything different.
Yeah. She might not know that this is abnormal, like you said. Christ.
Yep. So in 2012, she continued to use the internet after her mom had gone to sleep, sneaking, like what you do when you're...
Good for her.
Yeah, I know, right? So she made contact online with a man named Nicholas Goodjohn, a man around her age from Wisconsin. They met on a Christian, basically a Christian dating Facebook
Christian
group.
Mingle.
Yeah.
So they...
I used to troll people on Christian Mingle.
Oh, boy.
Of course you did.
So Goodjohn had some issues of his own. He had a criminal record for indecent exposure and history of mental illness, stated at times to be either dissociative identity disorder or autism. In 2014, Gypsy confided in her neighbor who, unaware that Gypsy was really close to her own age, considered herself a big sister, because everyone was fooled by Dee Dee's lies that Gypsy was so young,
and
even though she was like a woman, an adult woman.
Well, she's treated like that too. It kind of sounds like she was pretty infantilized,
100%, and made to seem way more frail than she actually was. She's actually she's a badass.
I think in reality she was in her mid to late 20s, and she thought she was 16 or 17 or something.
Yeah, exactly. So she confided in her neighbor that she and Goodjohn had been discussing elopement and getting married and chosen names for their potential children and all this stuff. So they had kind of a real relationship going on.
Yeah. And take it from somebody who used to work with teenagers, there's no force great enough on earth to stop the teenage libido.
Nope.
Yeah, wow.
That's why you need sex ed, because they're going to do it anyway.
She told her neighbor that she and Goodjohn had flirted online, sometimes using BDSM elements, which we will have released an episode on previous to this.
Oh, yes.
Which Gypsy since claimed was more what he was interested in. The neighbor tried to talk her out of it, still thinking that Gypsy was basically a baby and too young for that, and that she was being taken advantage of by a sexual predator.
Mm-hmm.
She considered Gypsy's plans just fantasies and dreams, and nothing like this would ever really take place. So despite Dee Dee's efforts to prevent her from using the internet, which went as far as destroying her daughter's phone and laptop, she maintained contact with the neighbor who printed printouts of the posts that Gypsy shared until 2014. Gypsy still tried to maintain contact with the outside world, even though her mom was like, no, I'm going to smash your phone.
This is like North Korea.
I know. Worse. Yeah. So the next year, Gypsy arranged for her mother to meet Goodjohn when he came to Springfield, which is where they were living. Her plan was for him to just kind of bump into her while she and Dee Dee were at the movie theater. So they kind of just all orchestrated all this.
The only lying more stellar than this is when a wife tries to make excuses for her alcoholic husband.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah, so
he's just sick. He's got a liver problem. Well, he does have liver problems.
Oh, no, all his friends give him bottles to recycle because he's the one that lives near the recycling plant and all that. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, their plan was to bump into each other in costume and strike up a conversation, and that's how they would introduce their relationship to the mom. Not that they had been talking since 2012.
Smooth.
Yeah, right?
Smooth.
As soon as they did meet for the first time in real life, Goodjohn says Gypsy led him to the bathroom and the two had sex. However, she apparently did not find him as desirable in person as he seemed online.
That's how Christian Mingle works.
Yeah. And she never introduced him to her mom. The two continued their internet interactions, however, and began developing their plan to kill Dee Dee.
Whoa, this took a turn.
It did. It escalated quickly. Goodjohn returned to Springfield in June of 2015, coming down while Gypsy and her mother were away at a doctor's appointment. So when they returned, Dee Dee went to sleep. Gypsy let him know, and he went into her house. Gypsy let him in and allegedly gave him duct tape, gloves, and a knife with the understanding that he would use it to murder Dee Dee.
So Dee Dee had the kill kit ready for him when he got there?
Yeah, Gypsy had the kill kit ready.
Oh, sorry, Gypsy had it. Okay.
Yeah, so she gave him all this stuff. But she later claimed that he didn't expect him to be able to do it. Although I just read today on November 17th, because she just was in court testifying at Good John's trial that it was all her idea.
And roll that clip.
My mother and I got into an argument 2 days prior to the murder occurring. And Nick asked me, are we still doing this? Am I still, coming there to do this? Yes or no? And I said yes.
Who talked you into killing your mother?
I did. I talked him into it.
Gypsy also told the prosecution that Godejohn wanted to rape her mother, but Gypsy says she talked him out of it. Gypsy says that she offered for him to rape her instead after the murder. The defense asked her if Godejohn did rape her. Gypsy said not at first, but then he didn't stop when she asked him to.
Godejohn told Gypsy to hide in the bathroom and cover her ears. Godejohn then stabbed Dee Dee several times in her sleep. The two had sex in Gypsy's room, took $4,000 in cash that Dee Dee had been keeping in the house.
They had sex right after they killed the mom.
Yeah, they had sex after he killed the mom.
I mean...
Yeah, that mom might have deserved to get murdered a little bit.
Yeah.
Like if you were going to justify murdering someone.
Yeah.
100%. I agree.
I mean,
that feels dirty to say, but
no, I know it does feel dirty.
Every murder, justifies it though.
No, but this is actually like this mother was abusing her and keeping her younger than she was, and basically keeping her like a sick prisoner.
I think even by the court of public opinion, like if you Price is Right it, not Price is Right, if you Family Feud it, I think most people would be like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you Family Feuded it for sure.
Yeah. Who knows? I might be wrong. Add us on Twitter.
Yeah. At me on Twitter.
Or OV.
People do anyway.
Yeah. Or ovfeedback@gmail.com if you want to send us a big opinion and we'll read it.
Yeah. I'll read it.
Yeah.
I'll maybe even do voices.
Yeah.
Accents.
Yeah. Accents.
You like accents.
I do. I love accents. So they basically hung out for several days while planning their next move. They were seen on security cameras at several stores. Gypsy said at this point she believed that the two had managed to get away with their crime. They mailed the murder weapon back to Godejohn's home in Wisconsin to avoid being caught with it, and then took a bus there.
Sounds like a poor plan.
Right? I can't imagine why, like a man who's apparently severely autistic and a woman who had been treated like she was 16 and sick for her whole life making bad plans?
Yeah, that explains it.
And part of the reason why it took police so long to find them is because they were looking for him and a sick girl in a wheelchair.
Right, and she wasn't in a wheelchair. She didn't fucking need it.
Yeah, she was just walking just like any other person. So when they were checking security cameras, they were just scanning for wheelchairs and they didn't see any.
Yep. So this is kind of interesting. On the afternoon of June 14th, at Gypsy's urging, Godejohn used his phone to post 2 updates to Dee Dee's Facebook page so that people would discover the body. The first read simply, "That bitch is dead," followed 17 minutes later by a longer comment suggesting that whoever left it had violently killed Dee Dee and raped Gypsy. Gypsy would later state that she was concerned that several days had passed without anyone discovering her mother's body, and that she hoped that someone would report the ominous message to the police so that they would find the body. So I think they basically made it as shocking as possible so that people would be like, oh shit, let's go check on Dee Dee.
So she was probably watching the news and not seeing her mom on there?
Yeah. So the Blanchards, friends, and family responded first to the first post and its language, which was uncharacteristic for Dee Dee. So she asked if she was reacting to a movie she was watching or saying, like, is your account hacked? After the second post, they knew something was probably wrong. When phone calls went unanswered, several of them went to the house.
Oh.
So they knew that the friends knew that they often went on medical trips without any notice. But they saw Dee Dee's car, which was modified to hold Gypsy's wheelchair, which she apparently needed, which she didn't. It was still in the driveway, so making that explanation like not super plausible. No one answered the door, so they called 911 and the police arrived. They had to wait for a search warrant to be able to go into the house. But they allowed one of the neighbors present to climb through a window where he saw the inside of the home was largely undisturbed and that all Gypsy's wheelchairs were still present because she didn't fucking need them.
Wheelchairs, plural?
Yep. And those are not cheap. Wheelchairs are not cheap. It's an expensive piece of medical equipment. So that neighbor that I talked about before, she was among the neighbors gathered around on the Blanchard's lawn and told the police that she knew about Gypsy and her secret online boyfriend.
Oh.
She showed them the printouts that she had saved because apparently had nothing better to do. So she saved a bunch of printouts of a teenager's text conversation.
That sounds like my grandma.
Which included his name. So the police were able to ask Facebook to trace the IP addresses of those messages, which points to Dee Dee's account where it had been made. It turned out to be Wisconsin, which is where Good John and Gypsy had gone. So they were able to find out that they had posted the message in Wisconsin. They raided Good John's parents' house, and both he and Gypsy surrendered and were taken into custody on charges of murder and felony armed criminal action.
Yeah, you would have to.
So the news that Gypsy was safe was greeted with relief back in Springfield, where she and Good John were soon extradited and held on $1 million bond. The media in Springfield soon reported the truth of the Blanchards' lives and that Gypsy had never been sick. She had always been able to walk and that her mother had basically made her, forced her and abused her into pretending that she couldn't.
Man, imagine finding out that one of your family members and her handicapped daughter was all just bullshit the whole time.
So sad.
I'd be so mad.
Yeah.
Right? So in the trials, after in the media basically disclosed how Dee Dee was treated, and then the sympathy for her as a victim of a violent murder rapidly shifted to her daughter as a long-term victim of child abuse.
Yeah.
So
and it's not only physical abuse, the medications that she was on made
you'd feel like shit.
Yeah.
It made some of her teeth fall out.
Yeah,
it made
you see her pictures, her teeth are all out.
And her face swell up, and she lost hair, and she almost looked emaciated a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I bet Dee Dee was restricting food from her too to make her look real skinny and all that.
Yeah, because she was suffering from Munchausen's by proxy.
A mother is facing charges in Hamilton County after prosecutors say she intentionally made her child sick. 9 on Your Side's Bryce Onslinger is live at Children's Hospital with the disturbing new details in this case. Disturbing is right, Bryce.
Yeah, that's right, Tanya. Prosecutors say that a West Virginia mother injected her son through his IV with feces, and they say it happened here at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. These are pictures Candida Flutie posted on her Facebook page. They show her son in the hospital being treated for Hirschsprung disease, a congenital condition that affects the large intestines and makes it difficult to pass stool. Flutie's son, who we're choosing not to identify, has gone through a number of surgeries in his home state of West Virginia and here at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. It was at Cincinnati Children's Hospital where prosecutors say Flutie injected feces into her son's IV to keep him sick. Prosecutors say the injection of feces caused the boy to spike a fever. Today, Candida Flutie was indicted on charges of felonious assault and endangering children. Hamilton County Prosecutor Joe Dieters says although cases like this are rare, he has seen similar cases with similar motivations. Dieters says he's grateful that this was caught before it became a murder case. If Flutie is convicted on all of the charges against her, she faces up to 8 years in prison.
While the charge of first-degree murder can carry the death penalty under Missouri law, which is where they were, or life without parole, country prosecutor Dan Patterson soon announced that he would not be seeking it for either Gypsy or Good John, calling the case extraordinary and unusual. So he acknowledged that this was just
there's some mitigating factors.
And it was super fucked up, basically. This is not just a cut and dry case. Fair enough, good for her.
Do you know what jury nullification is?
Yeah.
No. I don't know what that is.
It's just jury sympathy, basically, where they...
I'm drinking all this beer.
They basically say, okay, you're guilty, but we don't care, you're going free.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. And,
especially if the penalty's too severe like that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, she doesn't deserve to die in this case, I don't think.
Oh, hell no.
She was trying to escape an abusive situation.
I mean, really.
And it may have been a stupid, childlike way of going about it, but what else did she know?
And she tried many, many peaceful attempts over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, trying to like leave and meet with friends and meet new people, but her mom would just hit her with coat hangers and smash her phone. After the attorney obtained her medical records from Louisiana, he secured a plea bargain to second-degree murder for Gypsy. So Gypsy was super undernourished, and during the year that she was in the county jail, she told BuzzFeed that she actually gained 14 pounds being in jail.
Holy shit. I watched a documentary on Netflix, and they say that in jail you do the freshman 10 in jail is losing 10 pounds in your first week of jail, because like...
The food is so shitty.
Yeah.
But apparently it was better than what she was being fed because she gained 14 pounds.
Oh, and probably muscle weight too. Like,
yeah.
And also because she was
stuck
walking
in a wheelchair all the time.
Yeah, because she wasn't in a wheelchair.
Yeah, being able to walk.
Good John still faces the severe charges, which he is going in for first-degree murder, and that was covered like today or yesterday. Like it was new, and I did not add it to any of this stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad this episode is still like 6 weeks out from coming, because I think there's going to be some developments. I'm hoping the case concludes before the episode comes out.
I think so. I think it probably will.
Yeah.
State of Missouri versus Nicholas Godejohn. The jury has announced that they have reached a verdict as to both counts. Mr. Godejohn, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear the answers to the questions about to be asked of you today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You can put your hand down. The court has reviewed the verdicts and finds them to be in order. It will now announce the verdicts. As to count one, we, the jury, find the defendant, Nicholas Godejohn, guilty of murder in the first degree, as submitted in instruction number 6. We assess and declare the punishment for murder in the first degree at imprisonment for life without the possibility of probation or parole. As to count 2, we, the jury, find the defendant, Nicholas Godejohn, guilty of armed criminal action as submitted in instruction number 10.
How do you plead to the Class A felony of murder in the second degree?
Guilty.
10 years in the Department of Corrections for aiding to murder her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, back in 2015.
It is mandatory by statute that she serve 85% before she is eligible for parole consideration.
Prosecuting attorney Dan Patterson describing the events of June 14th, from the finding of Claudinia's body to Gypsy and Godejohn's arrests, linking details and evidence together.
During a search of the residence under the authority of a search warrant, Claudine was located face down on her bed with multiple stab wounds to her back area.
Today's guilty plea did come as a surprise to many in the courtroom who have been following the case since the beginning. The trial, which was scheduled for later this fall, many thought would continue.
I have never seen the evidence that I've seen in this case.
Gypsy's friend has attended every preliminary hearing since Gypsy's arrest.
I've always just wanted to keep supporting her because I know that she didn't just do this for no reason and just because she's an evil person.
Prosecuting attorney Dan Patterson says while Gypsy is guilty of murder, the amended 10-year charge fairly and justly holds her, quote, accountable to the law while also taking into account the extreme mitigating circumstances of nearly 2 decades of systematic and purposeful abuse by her mother.
It became abundantly clear as we went through more and more and more of the records that Gypsy's mom was abusing her physically, medically, giving her medication she didn't need, having her go through procedures that she didn't need, to the point where most of Gypsy's teeth are not even hers because of the medication that her mom was giving her that she had no condition for.
In addition to the alleged abuse from her mother, it was revealed in court today that Gypsy only received roughly a second-grade education.
All the education that she has is things that she learned at home, that was taught by her mother.
In January 2017, his trial was postponed when prosecutors requested a secondary psychiatric exam. His lawyers said that he had an IQ of 82 and was on the autism spectrum, so suggesting obviously diminished capability. So that's all new. Like all this stuff had just happened, and I didn't put it in here.
It's just discovered that his IQ was that low and all that?
No, we just discovered that he just went to trial, like Nicholas Godejohn. Like it's like today.
Oh,
yesterday.
that recently?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Like I was looking at it after I had sent all this to you, and I was like, oh.
Very timely, Sage.
Yeah, right? That was an accident just because I did not have my shit together enough.
It's like the Pokemon episode. Like 4 exciting Pokemon things happened this week. I didn't think I'm clever enough to plan that. Fuck no.
But you did.
Man.
Oh, Detective Pikachu?
Yeah. So good.
Good job.
I was hoping it would be Danny DeVito.
I'm okay with Ryan Reynolds.
I can see that.
That's pretty
I was hoping for Jim Sturgis.
Who's Jim Sturgis?
Oh, yeah.
Jim Sturgis.
He's
11 hours ago faces life sentence.
He's the protagonist in Across the Universe. He's a beautiful man.
He's a beautiful man.
Okay. Yeah, like this stuff is happening like right now. A lot of this stuff with Nicholas Goodjohn.
Okay.
So Gypsy has actually said, this is in quotes, I feel like I'm freer in prison than living with my mom because now I'm allowed to just live like a normal woman.
Jim Sturgis.
Oh, damn.
Ooh, damn.
Yep. Couldn't kick him out of bed. So Gypsy's right now at Missouri's, she was able to research Munchausen by proxy on prison computers, and her mother had every symptom, she said.
Oh.
Yeah, so
WebMD.
Yeah,
Sometimes
she
he
basically
shaves.
Oh, I'd still.
Yeah.
Oh, he's hot. She said that she thinks that Dee Dee would have been the perfect mom for someone who was actually sick.
Oh.
I was like, maybe not. She believed that Dee Dee's claim that she had cancer, even that she knew she could walk and eat solid food, leading to her ascent to the regular, like her mom shaved her head to make it look like she had cancer.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a special circle of hell.
Right. And Gypsy said that she had really hoped that doctors would kind of see through that bullshit. And she was frustrated that none other than the Flowerstein did. And then they fired him.
Man, so she has quite an intelligent internal monologue going on that whole time.
This is kind of interesting. Dr. Flowerstein, who was that pediatric neurologist who believed that Gypsy was fully capable of walking on her own and wrote in his notes that he suspected Munchausen's by proxy, said it was only the second such case that he'd ever come across. He actually learned of Dee Dee's murder at the hand of Gypsy and her boyfriend later in 2015 when a former nurse emailed him the news story. Poor Gypsy, he said. She suffered all those years and for no reason. He said that he wished that he could have done more, but he could have fucking done more. He could have told it.
Yeah,
he could have told
probably
someone.
could have followed up with that.
That sounds like his lawyer told him to say that.
So it says, while a formal diagnosis of Munchausen by proxy for Dee Dee is technically impossible because she's dead, a doctor told a newspaper after Gypsy's guilty plea that he could confidently say that Dee Dee she had it, based on what he knew about the case. In quotes, Dee Dee was infantilized and kept away from her peers. She was little more than a tool by Dee Dee to navigate through the world the way she wanted to. She said it was unprecedented in the 24 years he'd been researching the disorder for an abused child to have killed the abusive parent, as Gypsy did.
So that implies that she was using Gypsy as a tool to get money so she could live the easy life.
Exactly.
Jesus.
But how was that easy, though? Like, you'd have to...
Aside from the financial gain, like, I think it's almost more the sympathy.
Yeah.
And the being looked at as, like, some kind of super mom.
Yeah, or like a martyr. Like, I'm looking after this super sick kid, and I'm foregoing all of my own personal pleasures and my own personal priorities.
I almost wonder how badly I feel for her, though, because, I mean, she's clearly sick.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, delusion can be very powerful, and I think in this case that's it, but she's so pathetic that I feel bad for her.
Yeah, this is something that I think that the system should have caught. Like, if there's any measures or like filters of people that are supposed to notice things, like a sick mother and like abusing her daughter, like it should have been picked up, especially with how much time they spent at the hospital.
Yeah, exactly. Like whether or not Dee Dee thought that she was abusing her daughter or not.
It's so hard to fathom someone doing that to their own child.
Mm-hmm. It's very sad. It's a very like fucky sad story. We should do a Patreon episode on the bioethics of this.
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah.
It's strange though. Like Dee Dee was very aware of what looked sick and what didn't, and she corrected her daughter whenever she displayed a behavior that was
not sick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so much. It's hard to have sympathy for me because I see so much intentionality, but it's hard to remember that a lot of mental illness has that level of intentionality because it's part of the sickness.
That's right. That's all I have.
I don't know, silver lining. I think Gypsy almost sees prison as a blessing because it's better than
Her life with her mother.
Yeah. And I think the first time she goes before a parole board, I think they're going to throw their hands up in the air. And I hope. I mean, who knows? Who fucking knows?
Yeah. I hope that she's able to have a normal life
Yeah.
after this. Like it's a super like killing people isn't awesome, obviously, but in her infantilized mind, what she was doing was escaping an abusive situation, which is what she was doing.
And like it seems like she watched. I know she watched Disney movies. Like that was part of the documentary, and like all those storylines of like the woman being rescued and then her and the prince sharing a kiss and all that. It seems like it was just like a super fucked up form of that, where she killed her mother and then
the evil dark monster basically of the story.
Is like
and then they had
Rapunzel
sex.
shit.
Yeah, Mother Gothel.
Man, I don't know. I feel like I can't stop talking because I can't quite figure out what happened, you know? So
yeah, it's definitely a thinker.
Yeah, it's sad all around.
Yeah.
But at the same time, fuck Dee Dee.
Yeah, fuck Dee Dee.
From a bioethics perspective, like, what responsibility did doctors and healthcare providers have to catch this?
Well, I mean, if it really depends on how much insight they had. If you're talking about non-malfeasance, which is, of course, one of the core elements of bioethics, you know what? If they didn't suspect anything, then they had no reason to investigate, and there could have been any number of reasons why they didn't. I mean, they're probably very, 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 very busy. And unless something stands out to them as being egregious, they're probably not going to intervene. Not because they don't want to, but just because of utilitarianism. Right. If you're a doctor, you have to choose what you respond to and what you don't. And it means you're going to miss things. And it means you're going to make mistakes. But it's doing the greater good for the greater good.
Yeah. But I guess that one doctor that noticed and wrote it down.
I think if you get to that point, you have a responsibility to follow up on that.
That's where I'm stuck too. Like if you have that degree of suspicion that something is going horribly, horribly wrong, I think you have a duty to follow up with that.
I agree.
And I guess I don't know the details of what he did and didn't do, but it sounds like not enough.
It sounds like not enough, exactly.
Yeah. All right, any final thoughts?
Sad one.
Yeah, it's shitty. It's dark. When's the last time you had a happy one?
Like last one. Like I've been doing all happy ones.
Oh, I just remember the sad.
Yeah, because that's mostly what I do. But for the last few, I've done like LuLaRoe and like Frida Kahlo.
Yeah, that's fair.
And we just did a Pokemon one.
Yeah, we just did a Pokemon one. Like things have been pretty light and airy here at Occultae V for a minute, so it's time to bring it back down.
Some Munchausen.
Yeah, with some Munchausen.
I'm gonna throw in just a Terry Schiavo to fuck with you guys and get as dark as I possibly can. Like Robert Latimer's has got shit on that case.
Do Terry Schiavo. Like I'm super into that.
Yep.
All right. Well, for Occultae Veritatis, I am Sage Murray.
Leon Filger.
Ood Gallifrey.
Joining us in studio.
Richard Bigley.
And
Susan O'Flanagan.
All right. Love you so much. Bye.
For our palate cleanser, we are going to go to something that brought Gypsy a lot of comfort in her horrific upbringing, and that is Harry Potter. So this is the first couple minutes of the first book of the Harry Potter series, read by another creator on Patreon, Dream Story Theater. Go check them out on YouTube or on Patreon if you like their voice and want to hear them reading more stuff.
Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Written by J.K. Rowling. Narrated and produced by Peter Lucky. The following is a fan-made work and not in any way associated with Pottermore or J.K. Rowling. Chapter 1. The Boy Who Lived. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal, thank you very much. They were the last people you'd expect to be involved in anything strange or mysterious, because they just didn't hold with such nonsense. Mr. Dursley was the director of a firm called Grunnings, which made drills. He was a big, beefy man with hardly any neck, although he did have a very large moustache. Mrs. Dursley was thin and blonde, and had nearly twice the usual amount of neck, which came in very useful as she spent so much of her time craning over garden fences, spying on the neighbors. The Dursleys had a small son called Dudley, and in their opinion, there was no finer boy anywhere. The Dursleys had everything they wanted, but they also had a secret, and their greatest fear was that somebody would discover it. They didn't think they could bear it if anyone found out about the Potters. Mrs. Potter was Mrs. Dursley's sister, but they hadn't met for several years. In fact, Mrs. Dursley pretended she didn't have a sister because her sister and her good-for-nothing husband were as un-Dursleyish as it was possible to be. The Dursleys shuddered to think what the neighbors would say if the Potters arrived in the street. The Dursleys knew that the Potters had a small son too, but they had never even seen him. This boy was another good reason for keeping the Potters away. They didn't want Dudley mixing with a child like that.
Hey, hello once again. Welcome to the after show. This time it's just Ood Gallifrey once again. We're getting in on the weekend and we're going to record a bunch of more after shows, but for now it's just me, and we are catching up on something we have not done for a while, and that's all our new Patreons. All the new members in the cult of Valhalla. So, welcome. Okay, first off, Amanda Hawkins, thank you for joining the cult. Lindsay, thank you for joining the cult. Adam Bushk, thank you for joining the cult. Stephen Skytower, Valhalla, bless you. Scene Homerig, welcome, welcome, welcome. Jamie Sacker, welcome to the cult. Kevin Jubinvile, welcome to the cult. Kevin Larson, welcome to the cult. Atrophonian, dude, we need to get you back on the podcast. It's been a while. But yeah, you upped your pledge to 666, so welcome to the low-key Hail Satan version of pledging your allegiance to Val. And last but not least, Brandon Foltz, thank you for joining the cult of Val. Thank you for supporting us. You know, every penny that you make either goes right back into the podcast or into the mouths of our children or pets. So either way, you're directly supporting us. Or we use it to buy booze for the recordings, which is always very good. So yeah, thank you for supporting us. If you want to sign up on Patreon this month in January, we actually have a special offer going on. So if you join at any level from $1 to whatever you want to pay, we will give you the ability to put a poll option of your choice within reason on the next Patreon poll for Ood. So Ood's next Patreon poll will be made up of all the new people's suggestions. So we're going to add a little bit of chaos to this podcast because, you know, I like to roll the dice. Anyways, I'm Ood Gallifrey. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for letting us into your ear holes. You know, it's still wintry out there, so make sure you walk like a penguin. Don't slip and break your hip because we need you to keep on listening. And we need you to keep on walking, feeling good. And you know what? Take a mental health day if you need, if you can. Because we all need a break. Love you all. Bye-bye.